primary day today. This as crime, inflation, and homelessness continue to grow. Here to discuss more of what we can expect is former Pennsylvania Senator and Newsmax contributor Rick Santorum. Rick, good to have you here.
Thanks,
I think one thing, what's going on in New Jersey may not matter to people necessarily throughout the rest of the country, except the issues are the same. And we're seeing this issue in California, inflation, plus crime has gotten so bad there.
Well, crime, homelessness, I mean, the problems in California, you'd say, well, what's that have to do with the rest of the country? Because California is really not very much like the rest of the country.
Right.
But it tells you how bad things have gotten and with progressive ideology and where that's driven even voters that vote for these people who have said enough. And the principal race that I think everyone's going to look at is the DA's race in San Francisco,
right.
Where there is a terrific opportunity, in fact, now I think favored opportunity for the incumbent, Chesa Boudin, to lose. He is George Soros's #1 guy, and he is completely, just closed.
To be recalled.
Well, yeah, but he's closed the jail cells to anybody going in, left everybody out on the street, including people with mental illness and all these other issues. And as a result, looks like he's going to be recalled, which is a very hard thing to do. Number one, to get recalled, but to actually be recalled is a huge thing. And then you have George Gascon down in Los Angeles, the same situation. So when you see the most progressive cities in America, San Francisco and LA, revolting against, there's only one Republican for every 10 Democrats in the city of San Francisco. This isn't Republicans rising up saying we need.
Right.
These are the folks who have to live with the resulting policies of what the progressive left wants to bring you. And they're saying, even in San Francisco, enough's enough. Yeah. That is going to be if there's anything that should scare the Democrats in Washington, is to show that, if you're successful, that means the country's going to do worse, and you're not going to be in office very long. So the reality is this is a big wake-up call for the Democrats.
So do we see a domino effect? Do you think you watch San Francisco, Chesa Boudin, if he's recalled, you mentioned Los Angeles, Gascon, are we then looking potentially down the road to other cities as well? We've got a lot of these liberal DAs, soft on crime, Kim Foxx in Chicago, here in New York. I mean, what happens from there?
Yeah, I mean, to date, if you look at it to date, I mean, Larry Krasner in Philadelphia, they've been able to survive. But it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I think because you mentioned inflation, you mentioned some of the issues with immigration you're having here in New York with illegals. I mean, the reality is that people are not, it's sort of a cumulative effect. And people are now saying, we used to just be able to ignore it, but now this is really affecting my life. And in fact, I was reading an article today, one of the more moderate to liberal members of the Wall Street Journal editorial page, talking about how this homeless person just showed up in their house. And it lives outside of San Francisco. And it's now just not, if you're down in the bad neighborhoods of San Francisco or Los Angeles, it's now spreading out where lawlessness is taken over. And that's going to have an impact.
I came up today on the Acela. I don't know if you did the same yesterday or whatever. Okay. Oh, well, I take the train.
They're both nice. They're both nice.
Great.
But one thing that was different today, my wife dropped me off at Union Station, and the homeless camp was gone. But we figured out it was because they were shooting a film or something, so they wanted to get rid of that. But we, as a society, have to decide at some point throughout this country how to deal with the homelessness. Whatever it is economically, there's also the cost to anybody who's not homeless. I don't wish homelessness on anyone, but there's got to be somewhere they can go and take them there. And if they refuse to stay there, then we're going to have to put these people somewhere against their will, because this just cannot continue.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is the lack of prosecution, because a lot of the people who are homeless actually have committed crimes and do commit crimes and are not prosecuted.
And you never know when they're crazy.
And jailed. And number two, you have mental health issues, and the fact that we went through a process in the 60s and 70s of deinstitutionalization. We had these horrible places, and they were really horrible places, where we warehoused people who had mental illness and didn't take very good care of them. That doesn't mean that we should not have any institutions where we take care of people mentally ill. So it means that we should be better at it. And so we decided to deinstitutionalize and just try a new model. Well, the new model is people living on the streets.
Yeah, it's not working.
That's not a
Exactly.
good new
Not
model.
working.
We need to have these institutions back, but in a way that is obviously more humane and actually better treatment.
Well, Senator, we have a big night coming up, obviously. I believe you're
Looking
here with
forward.
us
I will
throughout the
be here all
evening. Is
day.
that correct?
Yeah, all
Great.
night.
Well,
Yeah.
all of us, we will be too. I think, Bob, maybe you're heading out, but we'll all be here.
I'll be heading out.
We'll be sticking around. Well, Senator Rick Santorum, it's always a pleasure to see you.
My pleasure.
Thanks
Kim.
for being
Thank you.
here.